Good evening. I am Thirawat Pathamalai or Patrick.
I am Kantaroga.
Wow. Yes, and we are students from the Thammasat University of Faculty of Commerce and Accountancy.
Okay.
And today we would like to ask some questions to you regarding how to do business with the Japanese.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. I'm Francis Otieno. I'm a assistant professor here at Ritsumeikan University, and my background is in technology management, not really on business culture, but I've been here for about 15 years.
15 years.
So I hope I can help you.
Oh,
with the questions.
yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
And let's first talk about the behavior of how to do business with the Japanese. What do you think is the common Japanese behavior when doing business?
Common Japanese behavior. Wow, that's an interesting question. In what sense?
For example, are they more polite than other, nationalities, or are they more aggressive, or are they more modest?
Oh, okay. When you're actually having a transaction?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Based on my experience, of course, they look to be more polite than other people, but when it comes to detail, you'd find out that they're actually more rigid.
More rigid, okay.
In terms of, they'll take time to decide a lot of things, they'll think through a lot of things, they want to build a relationship whenever you're making a transaction. So it takes time. They're polite about it, but I think it takes a lot of time.
I see.
They value time.
Thank you.
Exactly.
When we want to go and make an appointment with them to meet up for making a deal or talking about things, how many days in advance should we ask them for an appointment? Do you think?
It depends on the level of negotiation actually. If it's of course like a contract or just sales, if it involves the top managers or just the middle managers, time would be a bit different. But usually, probably you need to give them a month's notice.
A month notice for an appointment?
Because they have their schedule also, so you need to let them prepare. If you're initiating the appointment,
yes.
If they're initiating, it's a different case. But you have to give them time to consider usually they already have, if you look at their schedule, 1 month is already probably full.
I see.
So it's good to give them some time to adjust to whatever you want them to.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Okay. What is the popular place for bring the Japanese customer to eat dinner or something like this?
Yeah, maybe like for business negotiation.
Yes, for business negotiation.
Should
If
we
you're
give them somewhere?
negotiating in Japan or out of Japan?
If it's probably out of Japan, yeah.
Out of Japan. Okay, they like to have like the typical cultural
In that
place
country.
in that country.
I
They
see.
enjoy because they have a lot, they study a lot about going to that country, of course. If it's their first time, it'll be good to take them to a typical Thai food restaurant, or if it's China, it's a Chinese food restaurant. They'd like to enjoy that culture. But also you have to be careful, because once you take them there, they start judging you. They don't tell you, but they're already looking at you. So you might find you go back to the meeting the next day, they might be cold, or you wonder what's wrong. But you have to be careful when you take them. But they like typical cultural exchange places.
So we have the negotiation in the restaurant or in the seminar room.
Of course, the official negotiation will take place, if it's the company, the meeting room or the boardroom. But if it depends on the timing. If you come like a day before, I think, based on my experience, and they'll start observing your actions. So in their mind, the negotiation is already taking place informally.
Oh.
So you have to be careful. And when you go for official negotiations in the meeting rooms or in the boardrooms, you start building up on where you started off the previous time.
And after the negotiation, does the Japanese people agree, answer directly that okay, I want you, or maybe they, okay, I will ask my boss first.
Definitely, they will. That is the worst nightmare many of we felt we had. They have to refer to the boss, or if the boss is not there, they will tell you, choto ne muzuka, you know, they say muzukashi doesn't mean it's the end of the negotiation. Mondai, their problem, doesn't mean it's a problem, but it means we have to look into this further. So the way people or foreigners interpret these small meanings in Japan is very difficult, because you think they have stopped, or they'll be saying hi, 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 and you think they have agreed.
But they just say, okay, I know.
Exactly. And they'll still have to refer back to their superiors, because it is a community, it's a collective decision they're going to make. It's not usually a personal decision. They don't have like American CEO who said, okay, I'll do this. They'll have to refer, even if it's a boss, they'll still refer to their peers within the company. So they don't give you a never. Usually, let me not say never, almost all cases they never give a direct answer.
Okay. So, for example, if they say no or yes, how long would it take for them to decide usually?
You never know. It's not. It can take a month. It can take half a year.
Wow, half a year.
Especially within Japanese. For example, when I was working for a pharmaceutical company before, and we went to make a sales deal, we have to keep on following up. Oh, how are you doing today? After a week, you call it. Oh, talk about completely it sounds irrelevant, but then you come back to the topic. So, have you guys made a decision? You keep on checking on them, but they'll never give you a definite time. One, as I mentioned before, they start building on it. They value trust and time. They believe the more time you take, the more trust you've built. So after some time, then they'll know, okay, we trust him well enough, so we can say yes now. But it just depends on their feeling at that time.
And in the case that they want to reject you, because they reject you directly or
I
indirectly.
think they'll just, it's very indirect and very difficult to know when you're rejected. They'll give the same thing, hi, hi, meaning yes, and they'll tell you, maybe I think we should do this in a different way, or maybe we're not the right people to do it. They'll give you indirect hints, and you'll know, they don't want to deal with us.
Such as?
Such as, in Japanese we say, kore wa muzukashi. Once they say muzukashi, then it's usually no. No, it's this is a difficult thing. Don't say don't say no. But when they use the word muzukashi, or it's beyond our control. He's the CEO, but he's saying beyond our control. So we wonder who else.
Okay. I see.
So it's the hint that we can't do.
I see.
We've stopped. This is the end of the road for us at this time.
Okay. So you said that we try to keep in touch with them. What type of topic should we talk to them about when we, in a negotiation, or when we try to keep in touch with them?
During the negotiation, of course, you'll stick to the topic.
Yes.
But after negotiation, this is a very difficult one. There's no definite answer. It will be up to your skill. For example, you can learn what the CEO likes, for example. Some negotiations usually even go to the golf course. The Japanese love golf, or go to the cultural things. And you keep finding out what he likes doing. One thing you have to carry, for example, is a small present. Maybe you've heard about it. So after negotiation, people will go, oh, this is from Japan. And you say, oh, this is from Thailand. It's very beautiful, and whatever, please. And they'll do that small exchange of gifts and gestures will help build on your relationship. But it's up to you to decide. But just know that that's not the end. You need to keep on
Going.
exactly.
All right. Okay. And how should we behave in the negotiation? So that's we sit and talk only, and we have to.
Can we make face
make face?
gesture, or we have to like sit with like poker face?
Interesting. That's an interesting question. Probably they will not mind what you do. Of course, there's some things you can't do. Hey, it's good, or it means a lot of different things in Japan. Money, okay, means money. But you don't have to. You can just be yourself. The problem with, for example, Americans are usually too aggressive.
Yes.
They want to please decide now, or make a decision. That is not the way to do it in Japan. You can be stern, but you hold back. Because they will, if you're aggressive, they'll just be quiet. It doesn't mean that they are submitted to you. They might be thinking, oh, maybe I'm not supposed to deal with this guy, or this guy is too much for me. So you be stern and also be silent as much as you can, because they have perfected that of being silent in negotiations. So when you're silent, they'll be, what's happening here? Maybe we need to talk. So you try and beat them at their own game. Don't push yourself too much, but also don't lose yourself. Don't lose your culture. Don't lose where you come from. They like to say, "Oh, Thai people are like this." Okay, good. But they're also silent. Wow, you're taking them by surprise, giving them yourself and a bit of themselves too. They call it borrowing from them. You just borrow a little from them, but don't lose yourself. I think that is important.
Thank you. So if we talk about taking care of the Japanese guests, and when they go to other countries, like go to China, should we go and pick them up at the airport, or they can do it by themselves?
Shacho, salesman. I think it depends also on who is coming, the level of the person. If it's the bosses, it is recommended to go. If it's just the middle class guys, you can offer, but they usually they'd like to find their way to the hotel or to meet the company. You can pick them up from the hotel. In Japan, for example, they rarely come to meet you at the airport. Maybe they believe their transport system is so good, I'm not sure, but they will not come. They'll wait for you at the company or at the hotel. It'll give you that space. So it's also good, I think, to give them that space. Because I've never had an experience where I ask to be picked up, or they come and pick me up from the airport. It doesn't really matter to them.
I see.
What matters is the trust you're going to start building from the time you meet. That is the most important. Yeah.
And what time should we arrive for the negotiation? So that, okay, the meeting starts at 5, and when should we arrive? At 5? Or
should we arrive
earlier?
before? But if before, how much? How long?
Even 1 hour before is okay. Just show them how you're enthusiastic about this meeting. You're looking forward to it. But doesn't mean that if you arrive early, you start the meet. You can start the meeting at that time. No. Japanese, even if you arrive an hour early, they'll wait until the time. they're a bit rigid on that sense. So if you arrive early, just how are you doing, and you talk about other things. But being there shows, this guy is ready for this thing.
And if we come late?
You forget about it.
So if we are to meet them, say it's 5 p.m., when would the Japanese usually arrive?
About half an hour.
Half an hour before. I
See
see.
them way before. Start seeing them around.
I see. So when we want to do some negotiation, they have arrived into the country already. The Japanese, they come to the country. Should we take them to other places first, sightseeing or for entertainment, or should we start the negotiation first and then do the other things later?
It's wise to do the negotiations first. Not even international, even Japanese themselves, they work, then after work, they nomimasu. You know nomimasu? Japan, they have something called nominication. It means you drink after, you communicate and drink after finished our business.
I see.
All right? Then you continue communicating. Doesn't mean you've stopped the business, as I told you before. You keep on drinking, keep on taking them out, but they'll keep on observing you, seeing if you are just there for business or there to build trust. For them, it is, at the end of the day, it is trust that matters. Yeah, so you can take them out after. I recommend after. Before, if it's unfortunate, you make sure you take them to a cultural place, just to build. Your objective is to build or win his trust. Before work, don't drink too much. Have a glass, go on, then when you after work, then you can lose yourself a bit.
Right. And you know, regarding getting contacts and stuff like that. So, for example, like if we give business card to Japanese people, can we just give it with like any style, or is there like a formal gesture to give?
It's a very difficult question. It's very hard.
Is it depend on the person that we talk?
It depends. If you're coming to see me, I would expect you to give out your business card first. All right? Definitely. I am here for you, so you have to tell me who you are. Then I can give you my business card. But of course, the Japanese will have to stand, as you know, and you can't give a business card across the table if you have seated by mistake. Make sure you move away from the table and when there's space. These are things they don't explain. There's no particular reason, but you're not supposed to do things over desks. Even when you're eating, never pass. If someone wants something here, never use your opposite hand. Make sure you use this hand so it doesn't cross over. Crossing over is just considered bad manners in Japanese. For some reason I don't know. So business cards have to be done away from any
blockage.
Yeah.
Blockage. Okay. Yes.
And of course, you wait for the initiator has to do it first. Then I respond. I think that is what we're taught when I was joining the company.
In your opinion, what we should not do in the negotiation?
As in a negotiation.
Yes, we must not do that thing.
Wow, that's a tough one. But basically, negotiation, both of you want something. Probably don't do something that can make you lose trust. Don't talk about money too much. Okay, if it's a money transaction, keep it in a trustful way. They have what you call, how do you say that? Nemawashi. Usually Japanese know the outcome of a negotiation way before because they do a lot of pre-negotiation activities. They have a pretty good idea. So what you don't want to do is to now lose that trust in case you've built it, all right? And don't present that your needs only. You have to show the Japanese that we are, especially like that you're in a sorry state. Don't show them that you're in a winning state. You have to be in a sorry state. They might be in a sorry state. But together, we can overcome this together. They love that. Even if you don't, I think I can help you. We can make you better. No, forget it. You're in an underdog situation. This thing will help you come up together.
Let me see. And regarding, we've heard that Japanese people have some belief in superstitions, like for example, like lucky numbers, stuff like that. Yes. Is it related if we set a date on a bad day? For example, the number of the day is bad. Is it going to have any effect regarding the negotiation? Yes.
Probably. So that's an interesting question. Rokuya means Japanese to have 6 days of the week actually.
Yes.
Within the 6 days, of course, there's some bad days like the 4th or the 43rd day of the year, which signify death because of the pronunciation. She sang. So it's good, as you say, to avoid those days. Of course, you notice sometimes they don't have 4th, in some old places.
Mm.
The 4th or the 43rd day is usually not good for any transaction. They don't even get married on those days,
Mm.
definitely. Even funerals they don't conduct on the 4th.
And when we bring a Japanese customer to the restaurant, and does we have to set the position?
In the restaurant?
Yes.
Position, if they're, usually, if it's a boss, you give them the head of the, at the end of the table. If it's two bosses, make sure the bosses sit opposite each other.
Mm.
And then the other guys can sit wherever they want. But these two guys, the key people, must be able to be close to each other. Opposite. Then this side is your team, and that side is the foreign team or the Japanese team. But they have to be, you have to give them a respected place, but opposite each other.
So is that the same as in cars as well? Is there any
Position?
position?
Cars,
Yes. Well, if we have to drive them, if we have to drive the Japanese, to places, is it okay to sit
Wow.
them anywhere, or
that's an interesting question. But usually at the back. That is standard like any other place. If a real estate agent is going to take you out, he's going to make you sit at the back left as usual. Or if it's full at the back, they never let you sit in front. So probably it will be good to show them that they have to sit at the back. But this place is, it's not, I don't know why it is not. I've never, that's a good question. They never put people on the passenger seat for some reason. I'm not sure why. I can find out that for you. But usually at the back.
All right.
But starting from the left, of course.
And when you want to deal with Japanese, and you have to send someone to go to Japan, and who will you send to Japan? Sometimes
what
manager
position?
or
Yeah.
the position.
Probably, as they say, there's pre-negotiations. You send, middle management would be a safe thing. If you don't send a top boss because they'll think you're being too aggressive. So for them, the pre-negotiation is very important. They'll talk to the middle managers, and these guys will talk to the boss and say, oh, these guys have this kind of idea, this kind of negotiation, this kind of business. Then you'll give the boss time to think about it. So don't show them, oh, suddenly it's the CEO of this company has come. It looks respectful, but it's also overwhelming for them. And after pre-negotiations, you can now sell the big guns. Yeah.
I see. Yes. And when we foreigners come to Japan for negotiation, how do they take care of us? Like, do they? So we know they're not gonna pick us up, but is it the same thing that they want to do the negotiation first, then we go to other places afterwards?
Definitely, they'll do that. They'll even see it in their schedule. Wherever you go, they'll tell you after this work you have 1 free day to go to the museum, or they'll take you depending on what you want to do for golf, whatever you want to do. But it's usually after. They'll treat you the same way.
All right.
The way they'd expect to be treated in your country.
Thank you. And so if we come here, as a foreigner to Japan, do we have to bring gifts?
Definitely.
Yes. What type of gifts should be brought in?
I recommend, what I usually do from Japan is, if I come originally from Kenya, where I bring like Kenyan tea, things that Japanese know is popular, but they've never tasted or seen it. So when they actually see it, whoa, thank you, I've always heard about, something that you think they always hear about, but they don't actually have access to, would be really good.
And when we give the present, should let them open, or okay, just keep it?
They let them, usually they don't open. But if it's like Kenyan tea and they can see it, if it's gift wrapped, it's his obligation to open it or take it.
I see.
Sometimes I don't usually gift wrap it so that they can show off to their friends.
Yes. And so what if it's in reverse position? If the Japanese go to the other countries for negotiation, do we have to bring them gifts still, or is it for them to bring gifts from Japan to the other?
Usually they will bring the gift. It depends also. Are you inviting them, or is it a 50-50 joint venture, or they're the ones initiating the? If they're initiating, then 100% they'll take the gifts. If you invited them, it will be good to have them some gifts, not before, but after, when they're going back to the country. Oh, this is for you, you take it back. Then they'll really be happy about that. Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, that's about
it.
Cover all of the topics. Yes.
All right, good. I hope I was helpful to your.
Oh, very, very helpful.
Interview. Interesting questions, though. Very, very interesting. I'll use them sometime in my class.
All right. So thank you very much for your time and information. And
okay.
Yeah, we really appreciate.
Okay. Great. Nice talking to you guys.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.